Are you interested in learning more about the Church of Jesus Christ?
Come on in.
Il se passe quoi là en fait?
Les taureaux, je les sens.
Moe, I could really use your help.
Can I get a chee-hoo?
Hello and welcome to this week's film show here on Arts 24. Critic Emma Jones is with us with the movies of the moment. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
Well, our first film is Heretic, directed by two of the writers behind another big horror production, A Quiet Place. That's Scott Beck and Brian Woods. But of course, the man everyone is talking about is the star of the film, British actor Hugh Grant, well known for playing romantic leads. Not so this time, Emma.
No.
This is quite a departure for Hugh Grant.
Yes, absolutely. Although I have been enlightened recently that this is not Hugh's first foray into the horror genre.
Okay.
He did have a role in a 1988 British indie horror comedy by Ken Russell called The Lair of the White Worm, where Hugh looks very young and possibly about to be eaten.
Okay, I missed that one.
But anyway, as you say, Heretic makes a real change from all these romantic leads, of course, that he initially became famous for. He is now playing an affable but still creepy elderly gent who opens his door to two earnest young Mormons who come knocking, and these two do not know their horror. They should not go into that house.
But of course, they do. Let's take a look at Heretic.
Are you interested in learning more about the Church of Jesus Christ?
Come on in.
We can't come inside unless another woman is present.
My wife is home. Does that count?
Great.
You like pie?
Yeah.
My wife has pie in the oven.
I could tell that you are a very spiritually curious person.
I think it is good to be religious, to find your faith in a doctrine you actually believe.
Well, our work here is done.
Now, I will go and check on the pie.
So sweet, silent angel.
Okay, I get the impression that this is all about Hugh Grant, isn't it?
It really, really is, you know. And it's nice to see that he is mesmerising as an arch villain. And it's finally happened that he's become a character actor icon 30 years after Four Weddings and a Funeral made its debut. He's so in demand at the moment, and he's really, really good at it. If you think of Paddington 2, where of course he's playing the villain Phoenix Buchanan, then there's Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman, where he played Londoners Fletch, and even of course when he just has a little door opening cameo in Glass Onion 2 as Daniel Craig's love interest. He's brilliant at it.
Yeah, he's definitely broadening his horizons. Well, Hugh Grant was in Paris to talk about Heretic recently and spoke to our culture editor, Eve Jackson, about playing the baddie.
It's what I get offered now, and actors always prefer being a baddie. There's more juice in there.
How would you describe Mr. Reed?
Well, he's a very damaged man, but he appears to be reasonably likable. The way I really tried to play him was as a sort of groovy professor, like the university teacher who thinks he can make contemporary references and the kids will love him.
Groovy, deadly professor.
The kids will love him.
Okay, so I should imagine that a lot of people will see Heretic out of curiosity for his performance, but is the film worth it?
Well, don't think you're going to see anything new, particularly in the horror genre. I found the film itself a little bit too pretentious in its discussion of belief systems to truly adore it. And, you know, there's a lot of borrowing, of course, of standard horror tropes in there. Nevertheless, one or two genuine shocks in there. So really see it for the performances, for Hugh Grant and, of course, those two young actors as well. They're really good. And, you know, enjoy, because all too soon, Hugh's going to be back playing Daniel Cleaver in Bridget Jones's Mad About the Boy. That's one for 2025.
Okay, I'll put it in my calendar. Well, moving on to a film by Franco-Algerian director Emma Benistan. This is her second feature. It's called Animale. It premiered in the Semaine de la Critique section at the Cannes Film Festival this year. Tell us a bit more about this one.
Well, indeed, this is a film that's really centred around the performance of Oulaya Amamra, who won a Caesar Award for Most Promising Newcomer back in 2016 for the Huda Benjamina film Les Divines. Now she's playing very well. A young woman, Nejma. She's working hard to be accepted in the extremely male bull running world in the Camargue area of France, which is really interesting to see on screen. Although it seems in the movie that there's a bull running rampage at night with horrifying consequences, the question is, does Nejma have more to fear from the men she's working with than any animal?
Okay, intriguing. Well, let's take a look at the film Animale by Emma Benistan.
Comment ça a pu arriver ça? Les taureaux ils attaquent pas quand ils sont chez eux.
C'est la saison qu'on va se perdre.
T'as deux petits qui sont morts et tu perds de perdre la saison?
J'ai peur pour toi.
J'ai envie d'être avec les taureaux, c'est comme ça.
Il se passe quoi là en fait?
Les taureaux, je les sens. Faut que tu m'aides.
Je vais t'aider.
Tue-moi, vas-y, je te tue!
Et je meurs!
Given the setting there, it looks a bit like a Western. Would that be right?
It really does. It is a hybrid, though, and it looks like a Western, you're right. And that's the mood created by cinematographer Ruben Imprens. Now, he was also DOP on Titane by Julia Ducournau. But the story really owes more to the cinematic trope of the female turns monster due to trauma. And we have seen that before, of course, with Julia Ducournau, but also with a Malaysian film recently called Tiger Stripes. And really, I suppose, a coming-of-age story about a young woman very much in a man's world. We've seen quite a lot of that recently too. A film like Rodeo by Lola Quiveron is one example, and also The Kingdom out recently by Julian Colonna. These are all worth watching, and so is Animale for sure. It's just not the first of its kind, so to speak. I do think, though, that more than any of the other films that I've mentioned, this one is more directly connected to the Me Too movement, I feel. You know, can Nejma really be anything else other than an object, just like those bulls, to some of the men she's working with?
Yeah, and interesting to point out that it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, where, once again, protests and conversations about the Me Too movement were very much happening in France. Well, now to another Cannes film, one that gave Portuguese auteur Miguel Gomes a Best Director prize at this year's festival. It's called Grand Tour. Let's take a look.
Ela tem andado a seguir-me, incluindo o meu percurso. Tenho andado a fugir dela como cobarde.
Tudo correrá bem, se Deus quiser.
Bit of an offbeat tone there. Gomez is known for very original films, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is a cinephile. And he does love to experiment. If you happen to see his last film, The Sugar Diaries, that was one of the more amusing movies that came out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you saw there, you know, Grand Tour is also experimental, and it's in black and white like some of his earlier work. What I find most fascinating about Grand Tour is the time bending, you know, that mix of colonial drama in there. There's a story, and also with observational documentary from the modern era, and that, you know, was shot when Miguel Gomes went on his own grand tour of Southeast Asia. The story's really inspired, I think, by some of writer Somerset Maugham's early 20th century travels as well. I mean, I do feel rather sorry for Molly. She's the heroine in the drama part of the story. She's pursuing a rather timid hero who's left her in the lurch across the continent. So slightly sorry for her.
Okay, it looks quite humorous though. It looks like it has a quirky feel. Well, finally, to an animated film that Disney are hoping will have the same box office effect over the festive period as Inside Out 2 had over the summer. This is, of course, Moana 2. She's setting sail on another voyage. The film's also known as Vaiana 2, if you're in France, just a reminder. So the first film was released 8 years ago. Why has it taken them so long to do a sequel?
Yes, indeed. It's quite surprising, isn't it? Especially as the arrival of the first Moana was hailed as a big leap forward for diversity, Disney's first Pacific Islander heroine, and it certainly brought in the box office with Dwayne Johnson starring as tattooed demigod Maui. I think it took a while because originally this was going to be a Disney Plus series, but eventually they did decide on making a follow-up film. New directors on board Moana 2 as she sets sail, but it is still Hawaiian actress Aulaya Amamra. She's voicing and singing the character, and of course Dwayne Johnson's in it. Very interestingly, the film is again also going to be dubbed and released in different Polynesian languages, including Maori, Samoan, Hawaiian and Tahitian.
Oh, okay, and that aspect would be important to both of those actors since she's Hawaiian and Dwayne Johnson has Samoan heritage. Let's hear from him at the Hawaiian premiere of the film.
Moana 2 is special because it's our people, it's our culture. And here we are. She grew up in the Big Island. I grew up 15 miles from here. We love you guys. Thank you. And enjoy the movie. Moana 2, here we are.
Now, in this movie, Moana is called upon by her ancestors to go and break a curse that's separating all the peoples of the ocean. And along the way, there are a lot of encouraging musical numbers, including a disco one that I did really, really enjoy, urging her to find her own way forward. Is it Inside Out 2? No, it's not. You know, in places it can feel a bit formulaic. However, I would say the animation in this one is more spectacular in the original. And I think the kids will love it. She really is a great modern day Disney heroine, isn't she?
Yeah.
You know, she goes after what she wants. And she's also really communicating with the spirit of the ocean.
Okay, well, I don't think Disney need to be too worried about the box office then. Thank you very much for the roundup this week, Emma. We'll leave you with a clip of Moana or Vaiana 2, depending on where you're watching. Otherwise, do check in with us next time here on Arts 24 for more movies, arts and culture.
This is a call from the ancestors.
Hidden in a terrible storm, it's an ancient island. Setting foot on its sands would break the curse, bring our people together again.
I know what I have to do. Maui, I could really use your help.
Can I get a chee-hoo?
You will be destroyed, and your wayfinder too.
Now I kind of miss the lava monster. Ow! Ow!